Welcome back to another episode of Branching Out with Sierra. In today's episode, I have one of my collaborative partners to share with you today. Adam Calli is in the house. Adam Calli is from ARC Human Capital. You may have heard me talk about that before or seen some additional information about HR show up in our social media marketing or on our website recently. And that's because Adam and his team have been very helpful in supporting my clients with HR services. But we're not just going to talk about Adam today. We're going to talk about HR in general because honestly, when I think of HR, it might not be the same thing as what you think of when you think HR. We're going to talk about your people strategy really being your business strategy today. HR might be more than what you realize. A lot of people think automatically compliance or policies, and it's so much more than that and something you should be thinking about as a business owner. It's something that you should be thinking about even if you're not a business owner, and we'll talk about why today. So Adam is here from, again, ARC Human Capital. He is the founder, and I'm excited to welcome, not as just a guest, but as a sponsor of the Tri-State Leadership Summit. We're excited to have him as a part of that this year, as a collaborative partner of SLC where he can support our clients. His team does an awesome job. So thank you so much for being here today, Adam. We're so excited to finally welcome you to the studio.
Well, today is August 3rd, and we planned this months ago. So I've had this circled on my calendar, and the drive out here today, I was just looking forward to it as the miles rolled by. So Thank you for having me.
And you even came bearing gifts today.
I did. You know, you don't want to visit a hostess and come empty-handed.
Yeah,
so
no, it's amazing.
Official
Here we go.
ARC water.
We have
Arctic water.
Arctic water for those of you watching. This is great, on brand. We had a little bit of a running joke, so he brought me the Frosted Flakes along with him today, the generic brand, which we're totally fine with because I shop by looking at the unit price. That's what I shared with him.
And it was Frosted Flakes because I told her she's great. That's my Tony the Tiger impersonation. So, you know, as I said, you can't show up empty-handed.
And chocolate.
And chocolate.
Yes.
Because how sweet it is to be an ARC partner. So,
isn't that great?
There you go.
So thank you for the gifts today. I'm looking forward to spending some time with you. And I know that folks are going to learn a lot from you today. No doubt in my mind. And you're just fun. You're going to break the fourth wall, I hear.
That may happen once or twice. So pay attention.
All right. So can you start us off by just telling a little bit about yourself and why you chose to start ARC Human Capital?
Well, I have been in HR 26 years as of June. And if you see the gray hair here, you'll believe it. 26 years. The first 15 were traditional corporate jobs. I moved through different companies. I was an HR director. And then, lucky me, like many of us in America, I was laid off. And I was job hunting. And I said, all right, I'll just find a new corporate position and I'll go on about my life. And then one of the people in my network offered me an opportunity, which I thought, okay, great. This is what I want. And they said, we're going to hire you for 10 hours a month. 10 hours a month? I can't even pay my mortgage on 10 hours a month. Like, what is this? But as the guy described what his firm needed, I was like, oh, wait a minute now. I never thought about being an entrepreneur. I knew some people who were consultants, and I thought, well, that'd be cool. I'd control my own schedule and be my own boss. But I never really thought about it.
Yeah.
But now this opportunity landed in my lap, and I said, okay, it's time to really think about it. So I talked to some people who were consultants and had been for a while, people I knew, liked, and trusted. After talking to them, I said, now, wait a minute, I might actually be able to do this. Like many entrepreneurs, you may actually be able to do this. So I spoke to my CPA and I spoke to my financial advisor who had their own small businesses and who serviced many small businesses. I said, okay, what do you think about this? What should I think of if I'm going to make this leap? They gave me good ideas. And now I'm sitting here talking to you 11 and a half years in business.
That's amazing. And I was able to witness the 10-year anniversary. You held an amazing party. It was
you
quite
don't
the
spend a
celebration.
decade of your life on something and not have a party. Come on, right?
This is true.
And only certain people got invited. It was more difficult to get an invitation to that than it was to Taylor and Travis's wedding. I'm just saying.
It's true. It's true. I'm glad I made the cut. Well, that's an awesome story. Thank you for sharing that. I want to dig into HR in general. Okay. So when someone says HR, human resources, right? What do you think are some of the biggest misconceptions that people think of when they hear HR?
Without a doubt, I believe they immediately think compliance, hire, fire. That's what HR does. We make you compliant, we hire you, and then we fire you later. Well, while that is true, all of that is in our realm of responsibility, it is a small piece of what falls in our realm of responsibility. It's just sometimes it's the most obvious part.
Yeah.
There's a lot go on in the background that you don't see, and to be quite honest, don't need to see, probably don't want to see, unless you're other members of the leadership team of the organization.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, though, there are a lot of things HR can do that can have a great positive impact on the firm. And when I say the firm, I mean the people, right? Talking about the company, the organization, the firm. At the end of the day, it all boils down to the people. In fact, that's what got me into HR.
Okay.
Right? I was one of these guys who knew exactly what he was going to do with his life. And what I was going to do was I was going to be the general manager of a big, beautiful Florida resort. I am not the big manager of a Florida resort. And I grew up in Orlando, Florida.
Okay.
It's near a place called Disney World. You might have heard of it.
I think so.
Yeah, sound familiar?
Oh, yeah.
There's this guy with a mouse. I think he's always wearing mouse ears. I grew up there. It was surrounded by the tourism industry, surrounded by beautiful resorts. And I was like, I want to be part of this. I chose my college based on that. I studied that. I went to work for Hyatt Hotels and Resorts, the company I wanted to work for. And I was moving through different departments as I was promoted, right? Housekeeping, front desk, all good. And what I realized was I really liked taking care of my team. My team was with me every day. Even the most frequent guest comes and goes.
Yeah.
But every day there was my team. I got the chance to try to develop them and to promote them. Sometimes I had to deal with the disciplinary part, but that is what it is, right? I got to hire good people. It all felt great. And what I came to realize was that's what HR does. They can impact the entire organization. Whereas when you're the manager, director, VP, whatever you may be of a division, of a department, that's your responsibility.
Okay.
But if you're in HR, you can impact the entire firm. There are people who go in HR because they say, I'm a people person. Well, I like people. I like to laugh and to joke. I get a big charge out of developing them. But I didn't go in HR because I'm a people person. I went in because I felt like HR can make a positive impact on the entire organization. And we can do things that the average department head can't. And we can support them in ways that they would really benefit from. That's what gave me my charge. So when I was laid off, I was like, wait a minute. I could start a business where I'm helping businesses who either have no HR or minimal HR, and we can do all these great things to really help the business go and grow.
Yeah. Wow.
And now, 11 years later, I think we've done a little bit of that, and we're going to do a little bit more.
I think so. So when you say that your people strategy really is your business strategy, what do you mean by that?
That's a big question. Is this going to be a working lunch? Do we have that much time?
It can be.
For example, compensation. You can choose to lead the market, pay high rates. You could charge, I'm going to just match the market, pay what everybody else is paying. Or you could say, I'm actually not going to pay as well as everybody else because I'm going to give other things, maybe great benefits, maybe more time off. Now, why am I suddenly talking about compensation? Because the decision you make or the decisions you make around your comp is the number one expense you have, but it impacts the quality of people you can get and how you can keep them. And if you have good players on your team and you keep them on your team, then your ability to deliver to your client, whatever the heck business you're in that you're delivering to them, is going to be greatly enhanced.
Yeah.
Business strategy, people strategy. Here's another thing. Maybe you say, I want to open a new office. I want to grow my firm.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. We're right there with you. Do you have the people that are going to enable you to do that? If you say you want to open a new office in Chicago, lovely. Do you know anything about the employment law in the state of Illinois and the city of Chicago? Because you're going to have to comply with that. And who's going to run this new office? Are we going to promote someone who's already in the family, knows our values, knows our culture, knows our standards, knows our operational methodology? All those things are critical. Are we going to promote somebody to run the new office in Chicago? Great. Who?
Mm-hmm.
And are they willing to relocate from lovely Winchester, Virginia, where I am today, to Chicago? Because if they're not, then guess what? The number one pillar in your people strategy of growing your office in Chicago, it just fell down. Susie's great. We want to promote Susie. Susie doesn't want to go. Can I convince her? Well, maybe we can throw some money at her. We can give her a fancy title. We can give her the country club membership. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of factors that go into that.
Yeah.
Maybe they do or do not want it. Okay, they don't. What's plan B? These are people decisions that directly impact your ability to deliver on your business strategy. Let's take reward and recognition, for example. Everybody likes to be made to feel good.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have a strategy, or do you just sort of wing it? Or is it generic to everybody? Because if everybody gets a $100 bonus at Christmas time, that doesn't really make me feel valued for what I did. So reward and recognition is critical to attract, retain, and to be able to assign people, because they're going to be like, oh, I'm going to take on this assignment and there is a benefit to me.
Mm-hmm.
And not everything in reward and recognition has to be high dollars. People want to be seen as people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what? We don't need people anymore. We got AI. Remember that. People, go away. We have AI. Not true. Not true. Don't use that against me. The fact of the matter is this. Yes, we have technology. Yes, we have systems. I'm all for that. But your organization is driven by the people. It's your people that take care of your client. It's people that get the client, right? It's the people who learn what you do and get better at it. So the way they feel individually valued really matters. When they go home to work at night and they're sitting at dinner with their sweetheart and their sweetheart says, how was your day? And they're able to say, oh, it was great. My boss did this for me today, whether he gave me a check or they took me out to lunch or whatever. My boss recognized me today. Mm-hmm. Wow, that's something nice to be able to tell your sweetheart at the dinner table. Yeah. So your people strategy, if you have one, will enable or undermine your ability to execute on your business strategy.
That was very well said. A lot of people probably don't have a people strategy. So it's great to hear all these different aspects that make up your people strategy, because these might be things that they've never really sat down and put thought into. They've just kind of, as things come up, how do I navigate this one situation instead of having a plan in advance and being proactive? There's so many parts of HR that, truthfully, that I didn't know were related to HR until I met you. And really, it started as clients coming to me for needs, because leadership development is people development, right? And there are a lot of people problems coming up, or how do I properly compensate this person? Things that I didn't want to touch, because I'm not an HR person, right? So I needed a resource to be able to reach out to and trust my clients with. And the great thing is you've also provided so many resources, just like employment law. I didn't even know anything about it. I'm not going to lie. Until you sent me a message one day and I was like, oh, I guess I do have an employee. I should probably read this. Am I doing any of these things? And now you're putting together these amazing documents of summaries of what people should be doing when it comes to employment law in their state. And I'm able to deliver that to my clients. So It's beautiful. We have a beautiful partnership.
Symbiosis.
Yes, it's working very well, but thank you for opening my eyes to all that HR is, because my mind has kind of been blown, and I get to now tap you and your team on the shoulder when I have questions.
Anytime.
So yeah,
Anytime.
that's been great. So why do you think that people don't consider HR until they have a people problem?
Well, there's a lot of potential answers to that. One of them, I think, is they're focused on the business. They're focused
Mm-hmm.
on the thing they do, right?
Okay.
Whether you are an IT pro, whether you are a plumber,
Mm-hmm.
that's what you do. That's what you've done. And now you're going to start a business doing that. So
Right.
now your focus is to stop the leaky toilets or to make sure my printer works.
Mm-hmm.
Clearly, I'm minimizing these two things, right? But that's your focus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, now you're having some success. You need some people. So maybe you think I'll get some subcontractors, AKA 1099s.
Mm-hmm.
That may or may not be the best way to go, partly because there's some legal issues with that. And this is not a session on the law, but there are legal issues with that. Or you can't control a subcontractor the way you control an employee.
Yeah.
So which is actually best for you? Well, if you had an HR consultant, you could talk that through.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you're sitting here and you're thinking, I don't need to worry about HR because the people I hire are experienced and they know how to do things, so I'm going to turn them loose. Okay, well, if, big capital letters, if you have hired well, then your ability to trust them and give them independence is greater.
Mm-hmm.
This is a true thing. What about training, though? Because you've hired them because they have experience in your field. But how do they know how to do it your way? Because they've never worked for you, right?
Yeah.
You have expectations of what you want in your department, your division, or your company, depending on who you are and what you're leading. How are those expectations going to be met if you don't properly train the person on what the heck they are?
Yeah.
Again, they have a background that should equip them to be successful, but they have to now know how to apply the things they've learned and the things they've done in the manner that you want them. I mentioned earlier that I used to work for Hyatt Hotels and Resorts.
Mm-hmm.
Naturally, we hired people with hospitality background. Hilton here, Marriott there, whatever.
Yeah.
Great. But the Hyatt way and the Marriott way and the Hilton way are not all the same ways.
Mm-hmm.
So when we hired somebody from those companies, it's almost like, to a degree, we had to untrain them and retrain them, because clearly we hired them because they bring something to the table. But how do you know the Hyatt way if you've never been taught the Hyatt way?
Mm-hmm.
And some of that can obviously occur through formal classroom style training, whether it's a physical classroom or a virtual classroom nowadays. Some of it happens by partnering them with somebody who can be a good trainer, a mentor, if you will. And some of it comes, it's owned by and could never be given away by their manager. Call them a supervisor, call them a lead, I don't care what you call them. Whoever is the boss owns that and cannot delegate that. You, of course, being an expert in leadership training, that's a chat we'll have more shortly, I'm sure. But from the HR point of view, it's like, listen, I can help you hire well.
Mm-hmm.
I can help you get them onboarded properly. I can help with the corporate training part, make sure that happens. And I can give you advice on how you might develop your people.
Yeah.
But it's not my department. It's yours. You have to develop them. And if you can't develop them, then either we need to give you some training or maybe we put you in the wrong spot. Because if you can't develop your followers to be leaders in their own way, then you maybe aren't the right manager.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're exactly right. And so many times I find that people are promoted or hired based on technical ability, but don't have any manager training, leadership training whatsoever. So they need to learn the people skills and how to effectively manage other people.
And that's where our partnership, we each deliver what we're each good at.
Yeah.
And that manager can be equipped to succeed.
Exactly.
It is sad of how true your statement is. People are promoted because of the wrong things. And it is actually the soft skills that will enable them to be successful or not. Because just because they know how the job is done, I'm not saying that's not valuable. It is definitely valuable.
Yeah.
But I'm not paying you to do that anymore. I'm paying you to lead a team. When I was a young buck manager, didn't have gray hair yet, my boss told me, Adam, you are not promoted by your work. You are promoted by your team's work. If you have a successfully operating department and you're the leader of that department, you will be recognized and you will be promoted. But if your department is a complete, utter blank, guess what? I ain't promoting your butt because you're the one who led that blank, right?
Yeah.
That's the end of the story. That's what it comes down to. You have to lead a team. There's a lot of things that go into that, but that's the core of this. HR can assist with that, giving you the right team members, helping you. But you're right. There are times where as HR, we need to say, whoa, whoa, whoa. Whitney is not ready. Do not promote her yet. She lacks these skills. If you feel you want to promote her, then we need to talk about how do we develop the skills so she will be prepared. Or if we find ourselves in a situation, as often happens, I got to promote somebody now, are you prepared to give them the support they will need when they are in the role?
Yeah.
Some managers are good mentors. And they will say, I'll take them under their wing. I will develop them. We'll do some on-the-job training. Great. Some managers are not good developers. And now you take someone who needs developing and you make them work for a manager who's not good at developing. Guess what? Now we got a double disaster.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point. This segment is brought to you by Work Smarter Digital. If your follow-up moves slower than DMV traffic, it may be time for Work Smarter Digital. Work Smarter Digital gives small businesses a fully built, ready-to-run CRM sales system so you can stop wasting months setting up software and start following up tomorrow. This is your sign. Get the CRM. Get the system. Get moving. Visit WorkSmarterDigital.com to learn more and book a demo. That's WorkSmarterDigital.com. If you're leading a team or organization, you've probably realized this. One training session doesn't change behavior. That's why at SLC, we design customized leadership development programs, not one-time events. We work with organizations to build alignment, strengthen communication, and create leadership systems that actually stick. If your team is ready for something intentional, fill out our organizational interest survey linked in the show notes or visit SierraLearnership.com. That's SierraLearnership.com. If you're considering sending your team to something this year, the question isn't just will they enjoy it, it's will it change how they operate when they come back. TSLS is designed for that. Clarity, better decisions, stronger execution. Join us October 14th. Secure your seat at thetsls.com. That's thetsls.com. So as you were talking about that, I was thinking about what some of those common challenges are that a business might be facing that they think is a business problem, but it's really a people problem disguised as a business problem. What are some of those issues that kind of rise to the top where you're like, well, that's actually not a business problem. That's a people problem. And here's what we need to do about it. What comes to mind?
So people can cover a lot of things. We mentioned compensation, right? That clearly belongs in the HR world. If you have a sales team that's missing their quotas every quarter and you think, I've got a bad team, maybe you're not compensating them properly, right? And by the way, when you don't compensate them, the good ones leave. The only ones you can keep are the bad ones. The only ones you can attract are more bad ones.
Yeah.
And you may be saving money because of the way you've structured your comp, but you're missing your sales quotas every quarter. So now you're not making money. Wait a minute. Hold on. You're telling me that this lack of ability to make money is driven by my compensation. Yes, because the way you structure your sales, maybe the commissions, right? We give a higher commission on this product when you sell it, lower commission on this product. Okay. Have you equipped them to sell the higher commission product? Right? People and business problems. Married.
Yeah.
Let's talk about training and development. Maybe your customers are starting to have, whether you're starting to get more customer complaints. Okay. Why? Are people trained on how to do what the customers want so that they can make the customer happy? If the training and development has been cut, or the good trainers have left, and the poor trainers are the only ones you still have, that could be the problem. Oftentimes, when you get a new employee, you just say, all right, I'm going to have Sierra train you. I'll come check on you at the end of the week. How good is Sierra? If Sierra is one of your best, that is the good person you want to have training a new employee. But wait a minute. Has Sierra herself been taught how to train? Because knowing how to do a job well does not automatically equip you to teach others how to do the job well. She may not even want to be trained or be the trainer. She'd be like, I got this freaking new person dragging me, slowing me down. I got other work to do. But wait a minute. If you approached her and you said, listen, you're great. I love how you do what you do. I would love to be able to have you be the role model who teaches new people. Whoa, now Sierra's fired up because Sierra is feeling recognized.
Yeah.
And I'm going to share a trick from Disney. Remember Disney World? I mentioned them earlier. Way back in the 90s when I worked there, they had this thing where if you were training somebody, you got paid an extra, wait for it, 50 cents an hour for every hour that you had a trainer or somebody you were training. Now, wait a minute. There's 8 hours in a day, 50 cents. That's $4. That'd buy you $1 gallon of gas today. But it wasn't just about the $4 or 20 in a week. It was also about the fact that I was recognizing you and rewarding you to do something that's valuable to the company. It is valuable to the company when a new employee gets productive faster and ultimately is better at their job.
Yeah.
And then, of course, the number I quoted you was a 1990s number, and that was Orlando, Florida. Not a place you go to get rich, by the way. If I were to fast forward to today, it's probably, I don't know, figure it out. It's an inflationary number, right? But regardless of how many dollars it is, it's showing you I value you for what you're doing. And in case you didn't want to do it, you had the chance to speak up and say, you know, listen, boss, I love my job, but I don't think I have the patience to be a trainer.
Yeah.
Whoa, wait a minute. I could have been taking new people and giving them to somebody who didn't want them. How's that going to work out for the new hire? Answer that question. And then all of a sudden, like, I better go to somebody else and approach them with the same thing. I need somebody. Would you like to do it? The person who wants to do it is more likely to be good at it. How many times have you been told you have to do something and you do it really well versus the things in life you want to do?
Yeah, that's good.
So now, there you go. So we're looking at comp. We're looking at training and development. What else might impact our business strategy and people strategy? Well, how about recruiting? How about making sure I get the right people in the door in the first place? Because if I can teach my managers how to interview effectively, it might, probably will, improve their ability to hire well. So now I'm working with good folks from day one who then can be trained and compensated and rewarded, and the likelihood of their success and of sticking around all goes up. Meanwhile, my manager is not going through this rotating door. I hire, I train, I fire. I hire, I train, I fire. Talk about stress. And what about your client? Your client likes to build a relationship with somebody that takes care of them consistently and who knows how to do the job. If you've got this rotating door, the client's going to be like, this is the third consultant I've had this year. What's going on over there, Adam? Adam's like, I don't know what's going on. I got to fix this problem. I better call Sierra. Right? But at the end of the day, all joking aside, I want somebody who knows me. When I walk in the bank, I want to see the same face. When I go to anywhere, if they know me, it makes me feel valued individually. Take good care of your people. They take good care of your customers. Hiring them is a good way to start with that process.
Yeah, you've covered a lot, Adam. I want to focus in on what you were saying about specifically um, the recruitment piece. Okay. We didn't get to talk about that much earlier, and that's an important part of what you do. I see a lot of my clients who are trying to go through the hiring process internally, and you see that they hire, and it's not even that they have to fire, but the person shows up for a day or two and then they never come back again, right? Or they've
Ghosting.
trained them for a couple of weeks, invested all this time and energy into them, and then they don't come back, or they choose something different. So when it comes to kind of tips on the recruiting process, if someone's not using a firm to help with recruitment, what are the things that people are missing in the hiring process that you feel like help them find the right candidate, that you usually suggest or make a part of your packages that they're just totally missing out on?
They know what they want the person in that role to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
I hope. If they don't know, nobody else is going to know either,
Yeah.
including the person they hire. So they need to get clear in writing on what I want this job to do. We call them a job description. And that's beautiful because now I'm going to be able to deliver that to either an applicant or ultimately the person I hire and say, this is what I expect you to do. You should be prepared to deliver on all these things. If you need help, it's fine to ask, but this is the expectation of your job, which then leads to the ad. I say ad because I'm talking about posting it somewhere, but it could even be reviewing resumes against a standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm clear on what I want the job to do. The less clear I am, the more likely it's going to fail. Now, I do know sometimes we're doing something wild and crazy. We're growing, which means we're adding jobs we never had before. Okay, great. Get as clear as you can and then say to the applicant, this is a new position. You are going to help me build it out. So then the person you hire, let's be honest, there are people who are builders and there are people who are maintainers.
Mm-hmm.
This is true in life. There's nothing wrong with both. We need both. But when you've got a brand new position, you don't need a maintainer. You need a builder.
Yeah.
Hire wrong, see how long it is till you fail. Mm-hmm. So being upfront to those candidates and saying, this is a new addition to our team. We're thinking this is what it's going to look like. We're hiring you because you've been in a role like this. You are going to help us develop. There's nothing wrong with that. We sometimes think because we're the leaders, we have all the answers. If you still think that, you need a leadership consultant. So we don't have all the answers. So being upfront to the candidates, say, we're going to develop this. Okay. Yeah. That's number one. Clear on the role. The better the clarity, the more likely you succeed. The next thing we need, okay, I'm clear on the compensation. We've already talked about that. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to attract people who want to work for the pay rate I'm offering. You mentioned some of the employment law stuff that we've been putting out lately. You are starting to see more and more states around the country are mandating that one ad appears to the world, it better include the pay range. If it doesn't, you violated the law. Now, this is not a law class, so let's get back to why this matters. If I tell you the pay rate for this job is between 70 and 82, then you know that's what I'm going to get paid.
Yeah.
I'm not even applying for this job if I'm making 85, unless there's another driving factor. Mm-hmm. Maybe I want to step down from a higher position. Maybe I want a better commute, whatever. But you know what the pay rate is. On the flip side, let's say you're making 63 and you're like, wow, 70 would be great. There you go. So I am either attracting or repelling people before they even reply to the ad. They've just read the darn thing, which, by the way, saves me some time of getting into debates with people around the pay rate when they knew what it was when they chose to apply. Mm-hmm. Okay, great. So we're making progress here. So we got clarity on the role, clarity on the pay. We want to make sure the manager is interviewing effectively. We all use our gut because our gut is never wrong. Ding. Yeah, it is. How many people have I hired in my life that didn't work out? Mm-hmm. Well, there's a lot of things we could say about that, but this is not that long of a podcast, so we'll just stick with this. I'm not telling you that you should totally discount what your gut says, but I am telling you, like with many things in life, interviewing is a skill that can be taught and it can be developed. Mm-hmm. Remember you were saying to me earlier about managers who get promoted because they have technical skills? Well, one of the skills they lack is interviewing. So now we're telling them to add people to their team and they have no idea how they do it. And they come to HR and they say, here's the resume. Yeah, I think they'll work out. You think they'll work out? You're going to hire somebody because you think they'll work out. You're that excited. Ooh, let me sit down. I'm overwhelmed. You don't want to think they'll work out. You want to be as close as possible to, yes, they are going to work out. Mm-hmm. And then there's some things that HR often does, and maybe you should think about doing. It could be a background check. You want to hear the story about the client that we had who hired a murderer, and then they threw their husband under the bus so that they could, turn evidence and get out of jail quicker? That's a fun story. Yeah, if I had time, I'd go into that. You think we would have found that out in the background check? Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying people shouldn't get a second chance and all that. This is not about that. But if I'm going to hire a murderer, I at least want to know.
Yeah, I want to choose to hire the murderer.
Exactly.
Not be surprised.
Exactly. That was a surprise. Let me just tell you. And the only times people like surprises are birthday and certain other holidays. That is not the kind of surprise a business owner wants to get. And then you think that didn't create some HR work? It created some HR work. Yeah. So what about embezzlement? You want to hire somebody who's been convicted of embezzlement and put them in charge of accounting? I'm thinking I'm not so sure about that, know?
Yeah.
Now, you don't have to do background checks. You don't even have to do them for everybody. You could elect to do them for certain positions. But you want to be thoughtful and strategic. And by the way, there are laws that govern this. You need HR to help you do it the right way. And last but not least, we talked about comp, talked about background checks, talked about interviewing. Maybe we even want to do reference checks. If you do it, again, you can do it well, or you can do it haphazardly. Yeah, I called him. He said the guy was a good guy. Okay. Well, that's sort of a reference check, but that's not quite the way I would have done it, Yeah. So all of these things can improve the likelihood that you'll hire successfully. You don't have to do all of them. You don't have to do any of them. But the more of them you do and the better you do them, the better the likelihood that you'll find good people and keep them.
Yeah, I found that candidates that I was screening prior to working with you and having you guys support with this, a lot of times they appreciate the fact that organizations are so detailed in their process, right? They're also screening you and they want to see, is this an organization I want to work for? And when you're going through the process of providing them with a detailed job description so they know what's expected of you, who wants to go work at a job where they don't know what success looks like and what they're being measured on? So many times in the past, I'd have clients say, well, I'm hiring for this role. Where's the job description? I haven't written one. Well, they're so busy that they're like, I just need help. I need someone to fill this space. And they think they don't have time to write the job description. You don't have time not to write the job description, right? So I've seen that a lot of times. The reference checks, it's so funny you brought that up because that happened to me recently where someone was like, well, I can't remember if I did reference checks for all the candidates. I remember doing it for one. I think I talked to someone on the phone. They were really nice. It went well. And I'm like, wait, you're not asking the same exact questions of every single reference you call? Like,
how are you going to compare?
Yes. How do we compare? Exactly. So I had even created a Google form so that when I was doing a reference check, I would type in the answers to all the questions and then have a spreadsheet of, you know what I mean? For all the candidates, here's the responses. We've talked about DISC assessments as a part of it, right? So DISC assessments, that's one. The personality check is not just the technical ability, but does the personality fit into the team? Is this going to be a cohesive kind of relationship, or is it not going to fit into the culture? Or is it filling a gap that we have? We need a detail-oriented person because everybody else on our team.
Big picture.
Exactly. So assessments like that. So all these things that you're talking about, to me, they're all critical. Background check, yes, I'd say is critical. I don't know. I would want to do it with anybody I was hiring. Come to think of it, I didn't do one on Matt, though.
Uh-oh. Well, you better just hit the brakes here. That's all I'm saying. But I know a good company that can help you with that.
Oh, okay. Perfect.
You mentioned the DISC assessment, and you also mentioned how a candidate feels good about these things. A candidate is going to be like, whoa, wait a minute. I'm an A player. If I have to go through all this, when they hire me, I'm going to be working with a bunch of good people.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Raise your hand if you want to work with a bunch of losers. I'm not thinking too many put their hands up, right?
No.
I don't want to work with second-rate folk. I want to work with top-rate folk because then I know my job, my life is going to be a little better. I don't want to go home every night and be like, this idiot Sierra, I gave her this thing. She messed it up. I got to fix it.
Yeah.
I want to be like, my team got my back. I got theirs. We work together well because that's the kind of place you don't mind getting up and going to work every day.
Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, everybody has room for improvement too. So when we look at a DISC assessment, you can learn so much about them and where their strengths lie and the value they bring to the team. But I think it's awesome to have, like when I run a report, 45 to 50 pages, right? There's a report of what areas they can grow in. That's like, to me, like a user manual. Okay, if I hire them, here are things that I'm going into knowing that they need training and development here. And that's okay. Everybody's going to have something on that list.
No doubt.
Is this something that we're equipped to develop them in? Are we going to be able to invest the time in this? What does that look like? You can create a plan. It was awesome. Even my executive assistant that I have working for me, the company, so she's out of a virtual assistant firm. They did an assessment and provided to me a training plan of when you hire her, here are things that you should train her on from the beginning. How cool is that, right?
Beautiful.
These are the types of things that if you're working with someone in HR and they can help you create this plan, they're going to support you in this. You don't have to take it and run with it and do it all on your own. So thank you for breaking that down, because these are some of the big challenges that my clients face. And it's great to have somebody that can help them kind of see the gaps in their own process, because they want to do it internally. They don't want to pay someone else to do it, but they don't want to put the time or effort into doing it right or doing it well. But they have the time to pick up the phone and call every couple weeks and say, that one didn't work out.
Right.
That one didn't
So
work out.
they're spending the time and the money anyway, and they're spending it in the worst way.
Yeah.
Because aside from the actual time and money that's lost, what level of frustration have they reached?
Yeah.
Right? Are they driving home at night, beating on their steering wheel, saying, this sucks?
Yeah.
That could be avoided if we did things this way.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, I have an HR company. I feel like if I don't do HR well, oh boy, right? So I have 5 employees, and I'm very thoughtful. They're all going to be watching this podcast. So, hi, gang. I have to be very thoughtful about how I take care of them, how I interact with them one-on-one, but how I interact with them as a group. Things I say, things I don't say. I have to be thoughtful. Sometimes what I don't say is every bit as valuable as what I do, right?
Yeah.
So there's a lot that goes into leadership. None of us are perfect at it. HR is a many-faceted jewel, but it can bring a lot of value. And smaller firms don't need as much HR. We give you as much help as you need. Bigger firms, you need an ongoing daily structure. The lack of it, you know, it's going to weaken you in the long run.
Your leads aren't ghosting you. You're ghosting them. Work Smarter Digital gives small businesses a fully built, ready-to-run CRM sales system so you can stop wasting months setting up software and start following up tomorrow. Don't leave your revenue hanging. Start working smarter today. Visit WorkSmarterDigital.com to learn more and book a demo. That's WorkSmarterDigital.com. You don't need more information. You just need a way to follow through. Aspire to Achieve is a monthly group accountability experience designed to help you stay consistent, raise your standards, and actually execute on what you say matters. Each month, we come together to make clear commitments, talk through challenges, share strategies, and celebrate progress, all in a space that keeps you focused and moving forward. It's simple, it's supportive, and it works. If you've been setting goals but struggling to stay consistent, this might be your next step. Check it out in the show notes or at SierraLearnership.com. That's SierraLearnership.com. This isn't just a local event. It's a regional gathering of business owners, executives, and organizational leaders from across Maryland, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, and Virginia. If you're serious about growing your leadership or your business, this is the room you want to be in. Join us on October 14th at the Maryland Theater in Hagerstown, Maryland. Secure your seat at theTSLS.com. That's theTSLS.com.
I feel like you said to me at some point, it's like you turn on the faucet when you need it, right? And so think of for a small business, they might think, well, I don't need all these things. Like that sounds like too much for me, right? But I love the idea of having the relationship. So when an issue arises, you already have someone who understands your business and who has been there for the foundation. You know that you have the critical parts done, and then an issue comes up and we call Adam, right? So I think that that's important too. Something else I was thinking about is a lot of my clients have challenges with having difficult conversations when it comes to holding people accountable, right? If they haven't had a ton of practice with managing others or, leadership training, they don't know how to hold someone accountable and balance empathy with that, right? And so they end up wanting to reach out for support of how do I navigate this situation, right? I'm having difficulties with this team member. I don't know how to handle this. I know that there have been issues in the past where you've supported a client where you talked directly to an employee and helped navigate a situation and figure out what do we do here. So what leadership challenges do you see that come up where HR can kind of swoop in and help kind of handle difficult conversations? What does that look like?
Boy, I got a lot to unpack now. Here we go.
Yeah, sorry.
First of all, one of the Hyatts that I worked for, the general manager, and I remember this all these years later, wherever he is, thank you, Mark, he used to say to us, be friendly, don't be friends. Okay. So if you're going to hold somebody accountable, it begins before there's even an issue in the way you show up as the manager. Okay. If you're friendly, that's great. I encourage you to be friendly. If you're everybody's friend, you've already set yourself up for disaster.
Yeah.
I am the friendliest guy in town, but I will joke with my staff sometimes and say, well, remember, I'm the boss. I signed the paychecks, right? And it is a joke and you're laughing and they laugh and it's meant to be a joke.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter whether you're running a division, a department, a company, whether you're the president or the owner, you are the boss. And you can never take that off. You can always be friendly. You cannot be their friends. So before there's an issue, you've already screwed yourself. That's item number one. Number two, okay, so maybe you are just friendly, but you're still their manager. Beautiful. Remember that job description we were talking about?
Yeah.
Let me bring that back around on the guitar. We're going to play this song again, because if I can point to that and say, these are the things you were hired to do. You took the job understanding this. Now, here's where we have a problem. I've just made your job easier, Mr. or Ms. Manager, because you now have a foundation upon which to stand. This is not subjective. This is objective. I hired you to do this. Are you doing it? Yes or no? Are you doing it on time? Are you doing it to the quality standard? Maybe you're doing it, but you're doing it late. That's an issue. Maybe you're doing it, but you're not doing it well. That's an issue, right? So we can point to these things. Okay, great. Now, let's talk about that unpleasant conversation. The longer something lasts, the more unpleasant it ends up being.
Say that again. Say that again.
In case you're not listening, the longer something lasts, the more difficult it is to deal with. See, a lot of people think the issue will just go away. It doesn't go, it grows. By the way, you can quote me on that. It doesn't go, it will grow.
Yeah.
Okay, because if somebody's done something wrong and it wasn't an issue, then they feel like, well, okay, I guess it's okay. I'll just do it that way again. And they continue to do that. They think that's acceptable. When in reality, every day that goes by, you're like, I can't believe they messed that up again. Have you told them it's wrong? Have you trained them in the right way? The sooner you deal with something, the easier it is to deal with, especially when they're new. because everybody's new to something at some point, whether it's an entirely new job you've been hired to, or whether it's a new task I'm giving you. You've never done this before, but for some reason, maybe our process changed, our technology changed, whatever. It's new. I'm giving it to you. So it's easy for me to say to you, hey, listen, I know you're new. This is a new thing or new process. That wasn't quite right. I just want you to understand why, and I want you to understand what we expect. People are more accepting of that because they know I'm new. I didn't know. Okay, great. And you know what? Their boss took the time to give them guidance.
Yeah.
This is actually an opportunity for you to build your relationship and improve your relationship with them. You're all worried about this. Oh my God, I'm holding somebody accountable. It could be a positive thing to say, hey, I don't want you to fail. So I am here to support you. Who doesn't want a boss that's there to support them? Wouldn't that be nice to have somebody who's going to pick me up when I stumble?
Yeah.
Okay, now let's continue this. For whatever reason, maybe you didn't know it was an issue and it had been messed up. And now you've discovered the error and it's been going on for weeks, months, whatever. Okay, well, you are the boss. It is your job to address this. So you can't sweep it under the rug. Now you've become aware. So your lead in can be, listen, I only just recently became aware of this. I wish I would have seen it sooner because I would have addressed it with you sooner. But I'm aware of it now and I'm here to support you. I want you to understand not only that it's wrong, but why it's wrong. You see, most of us are employing adults, and adults are not kids. Kids will usually, though maybe not so much in this day and age, accept what you say because you're the adult, you're the parent. Adults don't accept that. If I tell you something, I have to tell you the why, because that gets you to, oh, okay, I see. And hopefully now they'll accept that basis. They build, buy into the foundation, and they build upon the foundation, doing the thing the right way, the right time schedule, with the right quality level.
Yeah.
All right. So having said all that, the last thing I would say, taken from the heart of HR, if it ain't in writing, it never happened. So when you go to terminate somebody, did it ever get addressed before? No. Why not? I'm too busy. Well, guess what? You're going to be busy terminating them and hiring somebody else. You could have addressed it. But because it's not in writing, yes, people will say to me, but aren't we at will in our state? We can hire and fire at will. Technically, that is a true statement. But how do we prove that the termination is not based on an illegal reason, such as discrimination? She's a woman. I'm firing her. No. I'm firing her because she's a poor performer. Did you have any basis for that? No, I never got around to writing it up. So she's going to go to court and she's going to say they fired me because I'm a woman. Can you prove that? No, that's not true at all. Can you prove it? Did you get the pause there? Now, perhaps there are ways that we could deal with the issue and keep it from, becoming discriminatory. But the problem is now we're on the way to court. Now I'm engaging one of my many friends who are employment attorneys. I don't want to do that. They're expensive. They're all nice, but they're very expensive. It's not the best use of your money to spend it on court fees and lawyer fees. And forget the money for a moment. How much time and energy is this going to suck out of your soul? And wait a minute, what do the rest of your employees see?
That's a good point.
I learned something from my son when he was in junior high. He said, Dad, you know what Ben Franklin used to say? I said, you mean Ben Franklin, the founding father? He said, yeah. I said, no, what, son? He said, 3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead. I said, wow, that Ben Franklin was a smart guy. And my son was smart to tell me this. But here's the thing. Whatever's happening with your now former employee, you don't think they still have friends at the company? You don't think it's not going to become known? You don't think the rest of the company is looking at how you're handling this situation? They are.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, if we can do this the right way, if we can address things early, and if we can even have written documentation that says we utilize progressive discipline, and unfortunately, we got to the point where we needed to terminate, then we can sort of feel good about that termination. And I'm using a phrase that I got from one of my HR directors at Hyatt a million years ago. Is this a term that we can feel good about? In other words, did we give them a shot to try to direct or redirect? Did we give them the training they needed? Did we give them the support they needed? And did they still fail? Yeah. Okay. We can feel good about this term.
Yeah. And I want to add to that, consistency is key, right? So everything that you just said, it has to apply to every employee, right? Figure out what, the process is for documentation, what that entire process looks like from start to finish that you just mentioned, and make sure you're doing it consistently with everyone. Because if you're doing it with this person over here, but this person's getting away with stuff, that's a whole other issue, and everybody's watching it. Right?
Can't keep a secret.
Yeah.
And depending on who gets terminated, they will use the other person to say, well, I'm a black woman, but you didn't fire the black guy or the white guy or the da-da-da-da. Pick whatever mix of things you want. The black, pregnant, veteran who's over 40, you can put them all together.
Yeah.
But when we can demonstrate that consistency, all of a sudden, we've kicked the legs right out from under their case.
Yeah.
And now good HR is protecting you by enforcing this consistently. And people say, this is my company. I can do whatever I want. Yes, it is your company. You're the one who's up till midnight and got back up at 5 a.m. to grow and build this company. By the way, I did that last night. I had to get ready for this podcast, But wait a minute. Just because it's your company doesn't mean the law doesn't apply. It applies to all of us. Now, it applies in varying ways, which is why you need a good HR consultant to tell you which applies and what doesn't and when and how. But as a broad and general statement, just because it's your company doesn't give you the freedom to break the law. And just because it's your company, don't you want your company to be successful? Don't you want it to last? Well, your other people see how you treat other people. Right. And then they're going to start to say, wow, if he can do that to them, he can do that to me. I don't feel comfortable about this. I'm going to start looking for a new job. So that means I've quit before I've even quit. In other words, I got one eye here, just enough to do my job, and the other eye is out here trying to find a new job. And the sooner I find it, the happier I'll be. And then I'm out of here, and now you've got to hire all over again.
Yeah.
Because I saw how you were inconsistent. In fact, imagine if I'm one of the people who's on the in crowd, right? You take good care of me because of, I don't know, whatever reason. Well, I might feel cool about that because I'm like, well, I don't care how he treats everybody else. I got a bonus. I don't care how he treats everybody else. I got a raise. But if I start to see that you're so inconsistent that even if you're in the in crowd, you can get on the out. Today I love you. Tomorrow I hate you. I'm not sure that's a company I want to stay with.
Yeah.
So you, again, are undermining yourself by this inconsistent treatment of your team. You may expose yourself to legal risk. You are no doubt improving your likelihood of increased turnover. The quality of service to your client is going to suffer because people aren't committed. You're hurting your own self.
Yeah. So as you said that, I was thinking about the culture that you're creating, right? Can you describe what you believe to be the healthy culture that really helps prevent the turnover that you're talking about, where you can retain good people? What are some of those things that people need to have in place to create that healthy culture?
Well, I'll give you a prequel to that answer, then I give you the answer. When I was early in HR, we used to say, people don't quit companies, they quit their manager. Because the manager is the company to them, right? Yeah. If I worked at GE for Jack Welch back when he was there, big famous, right? He's the guru of management. Did I ever see Jack? Did Jack even know who I was? I'm building a nuclear reactor somewhere. I'm making a refrigerator somewhere. Maybe Jack walks by me once a year on his Goodwill tour. I don't know Jack. Aha. See,
that's funny.
I set that up.
Did you prepare that?
I tell you, that was the Jack Welch thing. That was just a natural. I hope you like that. Okay. So, but seriously, I don't know him. I don't know the leader. You know who I know? The person who gives me my schedule every day. Yeah. The person who gives me my assignment every week. That's who I know. And that's who I quit because of the way they treat me. Or that's who I stay with because of the way they treat me. Now let's fast forward to today. It's 2026. And now I still say people don't quit companies, they quit their manager. But I've expanded that to say they quit their manager and the culture. Because in the old days, culture was like this new thing. There were books written about it. There's still a lot of books written about it. But it was like the early days. How do we build it? How do we maintain it?
Yeah.
I mean, we could like see all these books over here. You see all these, they could all be about culture, right?
Yeah.
There are so many elements. It's like a stew. Every new ingredient you add changes the flavor. And here's what I've learned as a business owner. Forget HR for a minute. I'm just an entrepreneur. Every new employee I hire impacts and influences my culture. My control gets less and less as the company grows. Now, it's never totally gone, right? If you're the CEO, you have a certain degree of influence. If you're the owner, you have a certain degree of influence. And you always will because you serve in that capacity. But when I had one employee, it was just her and me. That was it. Hi, Cecilia. That was it. It was just us. So I kind of had all the control. But now I don't because I have a team. And they influence each other, by the way, right? Every manager that you promote or hire or transfer has a ripple effect on your culture. So we've talked a lot about recruiting today and hiring and promotion. Well, think about that. Not only does every employee influence the culture, but every person in a managerial or leadership role has an outsized impact. It's like dropping a pebble in the water versus dropping a rock in the water. The CEO may be a boulder, right? But those rocks and pebbles, they all make ripples. Rocks make bigger ripples. So leadership training for those wonderful new hired managers or newly promoted managers is not only critical from an operational point of view to help them lead their teams better, right? We had that conversation, but they influence the culture by what they do, what they don't do, what they say, what they don't say, how they say it, right? We nowadays are dealing with many clients who have a portion, if not all, of their employees remotely. Ooh, that's a whole new impact on culture that we didn't have 20 years ago when there were barely anybody who was working remotely. Now it's very common. That changes the flavor of the stew, depending on who and how many folks are remote, right? Communication skills. Oh my God, how many books have been written about communication? How many classes have I sat on? How many webinars and podcasts, etc., on communication? Because what those managers do and do not communicate is critical. Earlier, I said, we don't hire kids, we hire adults. Adults want to know why. Do we communicate that effectively? And is the CEO saying one thing and the mid-level manager is saying something slightly different? And I'll give you a personal one that I don't like. HR says I have to tell you this. HR says we have to do this. I'm the company. You're the company. If you're passing the buck, you ain't much of a rep of the company. Right? So that culture is influenced by what they see in the way of consistency. If the CEO, the mid-manager, and HR are all saying the same thing, that influences the culture. That strengthens the culture. If I hire managers and train managers on communication skills, and I make sure they understand, your team needs to understand why we're doing this. Change management skills, worth their weight in gold at every layer of leadership, because they will help their team to evolve from the current state to the desired state. And how that happens is part of your culture. And what you're aspiring to be as an organization, your culture will support or undermine that. You may have these grandiose goals as the owner or the CEO. You can't do it alone. You get things done with and through your people. So HR is the folks who are supposed to get you the people, take care of the people, train the people, blah, blah, blah. So all of a sudden, what are we, not important? Okay, good luck with that.
At some point, growth requires more than listening to a podcast. It requires structure, accountability, and someone who can challenge how you're thinking. That's where coaching comes in. Our one-on-one coaching is designed as a long-term partnership focused on clarity, communication, and consistent execution over time. This isn't about quick fixes, it's intentional growth. If you're ready to go deeper, you can start by filling out the individual leadership interest form linked in the show notes. You can also learn more at sierralearnership.com. That's sierralearnership.com. Do you want to accelerate your revenue? Call Work Smarter Digital. Work Smarter Digital helps service-based businesses tighten up their sales process, improve follow-up, and put better systems behind their growth. Because when your sales process is messy, revenue gets messy too. Visit WorkSmarterDigital.com to learn more and book a demo. That's WorkSmarterDigital.com. This year's lineup brings real-world experience from business, media, government, and leadership at the highest levels, including a former FBI Chief of Staff, high-performing sales leaders, communication experts, and business strategists. This isn't theory, it's real leadership. Join us October 14th and secure your seat at thetSLS.com. That's thetSLS.com.
If you could change the way that people thought about HR, what would you change?
Get out my Harry Potter magic wand, and I would get them to understand we're partners.
Okay.
Now, in our partnership, we need to make sure you understand the rules of the game so you don't violate the rules.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's not, and this is one of the problems. There is a history in the HR profession of being the policy police. I like that term, but I don't like what it means. The policy police. This is the rule. Don't break the rule.
Yeah.
Listen, if I make you aware of the rule and I keep you from breaking the rule, I might be saving your career.
Yeah.
Or I might be saving your company, or at least saving you a heck of a lot of money in legal fees.
Mm-hmm.
But here's what a good partner does versus the policy of the police. The partner makes you aware of the law so you don't step on the mine. But now we help you find your way around the mine. Okay, we can't do this. But what can we do? And how can we do it? And how should we do it? And why should we do it this way? Remember, you're adults. I got to tell you the why, right? If I educate you on the law, you didn't even know about it. You know why? Because it's HR's job to know.
Yeah.
You may know a few laws because they're the common ones. You may have even benefited from one. I know many people who've taken leaves of absences under the Federal Family Medical Leave Act. So they think, oh, I'm familiar with that one. Well, great, because you benefited from it. But do you know all the ins and outs of it? Because I'm not a lawyer, and I'll tell you, I don't know them all, but I know a lot. I know way more than you do. I'm not trying to be cocky, but this is my job.
Yeah.
I know my job. Do you know your job? So telling me you know your job does not make you cocky. It just makes you confident, and it makes you a reasonable human.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you what the law is, and then I'm going to work with you as a partner and say, okay, tell me what the problem is. Okay, now I understand that. And I understand what the problem is. I understand how the law relates to the problem. So now let's work out what we can do.
Yeah.
Sometimes people are doing what they think is best for the business with no awareness of a law. They lack that partnership with HR. Instead of calling us up or shooting us email and say, listen, I got a problem I need to talk to you about. HR has not shown up as an approachable partner. And this, we don't get the call. We don't get that email. We don't lose the opportunity to be proactive. Instead, we are reactive, which puts us behind the 8 ball and costs you time and legal fees and terminations and blah, blah, all the bad things.
Yeah.
So if I could make us a true partner that people would come to and collaborate with, that's what my Harry Potter wand would do.
Okay. Well, I think it's helpful for people to hear all the ways that HR can support and not just see them as the policy police, because a lot of times then they feel like they're being constrained, right? You're coming to me saying, I can't do this thing that I've been doing and I don't understand why. So now you're the bad guy because you're preventing me from doing it the way I've always done it. And it's been just fine.
Oh, yeah.
Right? So I like the idea of the partnership. So if you could challenge our listeners to do one thing to improve their people strategy, what do you want to challenge them to do?
You need to communicate more often, more thoroughly. You need to make sure that the adults that you hired are being respected, and to the degree that's appropriate. I know that sometimes there are things you can't share. Share to the degree that is appropriate. I have worked for companies that will share. Here's what our revenue was this year. Here's what our expenses are. Here's what our profit is. There's the CEO. There's the CFO sharing all this level of detail. You didn't see that 20 years ago. Now, much more common. I'm not saying everybody needs to do that, but what I'm saying is the more you communicate, the more your people will buy in, the more they will commit, the more they will feel like we are part of it. The other thing is you hired smart people. And if you didn't, we've already covered that. But you hired smart people. Why are you not asking for their advice and their input? Now, I realize you're the owner, you're the boss, you're the decision maker. But if you hired smart people, why are you not asking for them to give you some suggestions? Especially because they're the ones doing the job. So who knows the job better than the ones doing the job? You might say, we need this new technology to make them more efficient. I'm totally on board with that. Are you going to engage some of the people who will use this technology to help you select the new technology? Or do you just know better because you're the boss and you have all the answers? And if you didn't hear the sarcasm that's dripping out of my voice, I just pointed it out to you. Now, I'm not telling you have to ask everybody every time. That's not what I'm saying. Don't set that expectation. It's not good, not healthy. I am saying that you can engage select people, and not just the people who are yes men, who are going to tell you what you want to hear. Engage the people who will give you good advice and help you see things from all angles so that the selection you make and the money you spend will be as good as it can possibly be.
That is such a great message. I feel so lucky to have you here today. You have shared, it's like a gold mine. So I appreciate that. So as I'm thinking about, in summary, of how all of this comes together, right? It's not just about having great policies in place. Successful organizations are successful because they've invested in their people, right? They're partnering with their people and in all the ways that you just explained. Which to me is honestly a great segue, because investing in your people, one way you can invest in your people is send them to the Tri-State Leadership Summit, right?
Send them.
You went last year.
I did.
What did you think?
So I went last year just as a regular guest visitor, and I was the first year, so there was no precedent of what had been done before. So I feel like, number one, if I don't invest in my own leadership skills, they're like everything else. They become obsolete. They become rusty. You got to keep them up, right? You got to take care of them. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to do something I never do. I'm going to take a day for me, not to go to the spa, but to focus on myself as a leader. So anybody who is a leader or aspires to be a leader, this is an investment in you being better at being you. So that's one thought. The other thought is, regardless of the things you're going to hear from the various speakers, you're sitting in a crowd of who? Leaders. So in between the actual sessions, when you're at lunch, when you're at breakfast, when you're just hanging out, waiting, it's an opportunity to talk with other people. Hey, what'd you think of that? Hey, what'd you think? Have you had that problem? I had that problem. What'd you do? Not only maybe you do a little networking, which is always good, but you're hearing from leaders who lead and who face the same challenge you do. And leadership can be lonely. Entrepreneur leadership can be even lonelier. You're like stuck on that deserted island somewhere. So now all of a sudden, you got some other people on the island with you who are facing similar challenges. And you can learn indirectly through conversations with them, informally through conversations with them. And when you walk out at the end of the day and you're going home, not only will you feel like, hey, I'm energized, but you also feel like I'm educated. And I happen to know, because I enrolled in it last year, there's an after program that can help you to keep these things alive and help you focus and refine in a more individualized way, which means you're continuing to make yourself a better leader. So you show up to your leaders and help them be better leaders.
I love that you're talking directly to our listeners. No, seriously.
I was you once upon a time, last year.
Yes. So actually, the Momentum Plus program is now a year-round program. So we have already booked all of our speakers for an entire year.
Sweet.
All of our sessions are ready to go. We've planned a mid-year summit that's going to be virtual for additional support and a 6-month check-in on how everybody's implementing change. So we've even expanded that.
We didn't have that last year.
It's getting bigger and better, Adam.
Love it.
But we're so grateful that you chose to sponsor and be a part of it this year. And I'm really excited about the fact that people can come out and meet you and talk to your team as well.
We'll be there. We have a booth.
Yes, you'll be able to answer questions. So if people are listening to this today and it's created some questions in their mind about what they need for their organizations or their people strategy, they can come meet you in person.
Live in person.
Yeah. So thank you again for being a sponsor.
I'm excited.
And thank you for being an SLC partner as well and supporting our clients, working with me. It's been amazing, truly amazing to have someone that I know when a question, a concern comes up, I can tap you and your team on the shoulder, and you guys are going to take great care of my clients, make me look good, which I always appreciate too. So thanks for working alongside me and truly collaborating and looking for opportunities that we can better support our clients together.
It's nice to have. I was talking about partnership a moment ago. It's nice to have a partner like you. It's like chocolate and peanut butter. They're both delicious, but when you put them together, it's a whole different degree of yummy, right? Or maybe you like peanut butter and jelly,
right? We are a whole different degree of yummy.
Absolutely.
We are, Adam.
We're very complementary, right? We're complementary and complementary, depending on how you spell it, right?
Mm-hmm. Both ways.
So the fact that we have more tools in our collective toolbox means who needs what can get what they need. Mm-hmm. And we talk to each other, right? We're partners in taking care of the client.
Yeah.
So if the client got either one of us, they would benefit. But when we are able to talk together about what we're doing in supporting them, then it's like a double whammy.
It is. Well, thank you for coming today and being a part of this. I'm really looking forward to continuing to work with you. I know that we're about to go to lunch, and Dawn Schuler is joining us, who's another
She was in episode 5. Go back and watch that one.
Look at you. You really have studied up. So I know that we'll be putting our heads together at lunch, and we'll have ideas for collaboration as well. Any final parting words?
Well, aside from the fact I hope you invite me back,
oh, of course.
The parting words that I would offer to your audience is, you may not be a mega corporation and feel like, well, we've got millions of dollars to invest in HR people and systems and this and that. It's not always about that. It's about how you show up every day. The little things add up. Treating people like individual people. And I understand as you grow, you can't spend time with everybody every week and know about their kids and their dog and who had a knee surgery. Okay, be thoughtful about the managers you put in. You build that infrastructure in a gradual, thoughtful way. Mm-hmm. And that is what will drive your organization in the long run. When you send a birthday card to somebody, does that make you the greatest company and the best culture? No. But it's one of those little things that contributes to how you recognize your people as individual humans. And it is your human resources, right? You got your capital, you got all these. Your human resources are ultimately what the entire bedrock of your organization is. Mm-hmm. Take good care, grow.
ARC Human Capital. Where can people find you?
Well, of course, it's archumancapital.com, and you go there, you'll find videos of me, you'll find our phone number, everything you need there, and you can email us directly. You can even book onto my calendar through the website.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Adam. I appreciate you.
All the months of anticipation. I finally got here. So excited.
You made it happen. You made it happen.
Thank you.
And thank you for sticking through to the end of the episode. I hope you found value and that you will share this with others in your network as well, especially in the entrepreneur world. We're always talking to other business owners and sharing resources amongst ourselves. This is one of those podcast episodes that is a gold mine of knowledge from Adam here that you should definitely share with others. If you are not subscribed to our podcast, we release a new episode every Friday at noon Eastern Standard Time. So go ahead and make sure you subscribe and follow us so you get those notifications and you don't miss an episode. Please be sure to also reach out with any leadership challenges that you're facing. If you have a challenge and you want us to unpack it in an episode, we'd be happy to do that and create an episode. I can bring in a resource specifically for your challenge to make sure we can meet your needs. So send us an email at info@branchingoutpodcast.com with your challenges. Until next time, keep branching out.
Before we wrap up today's episode, I want to take a moment to say thank you. Thank you for choosing to spend your time here. I don't take that lightly, and I'm really grateful you're a part of this community. If something from today's conversation resonated with you, I want to encourage you to do a couple of things. First, take one small step. Not everything, just one. Growth doesn't come from hearing more, it comes from applying what you already know. And second, share this episode with someone who could benefit from it. These conversations are meant to spark growth, and you never know who might need to hear exactly what you just heard. If you haven't already, be sure to follow or subscribe to Branching Out with Sierra so you don't miss future episodes. And if you believe in this mission, helping people apply leadership skills to everyday life, and you're interested in sponsoring the podcast, I'd love to connect. You can find more information in the show notes or reach out directly. Quick note before we close, this podcast is intended for educational and entertainment purposes only. While we share insights and experiences to support your growth, it's always important to apply what fits your situation and seek professional guidance when needed. And finally, I want you to hear this, no matter where you are in your journey, whether you are leading a team, growing a business, navigating change, or just trying to show up better each day, you are exactly where you need to be to take your next step. And you have the ability to positively influence others in every interaction you have. I'm rooting for you, I believe in your growth, and I'm here to support you along the way. Thanks for being here.